Hello beautiful people, welcome back. Today's video is going to about the top 10 ways music is harmful for your health. I know all of us love listening to music, but the truth is that the risks and the harmful damages are not worth it. So watch the video till the end, and before we begin, like this video and also consider subscribing if you want more contents like this. Alright, let's start. Number 1. Hearing damage in teens is growing. While teenagers have always preferred their music loud, it appears that the recent advent of ubiquitous portable music devices is making it easier than ever for them to cause permanent damage to their hearing. According to a recent study by McMaster's Department of Psychology, Neuroscience and Behavior in Canada, a growing percentage of teens are engaging in risky listening habits, in large part due to the growing trend of shutting out the outside world via loud earbuds. Fully 1/4 of the 170 kids surveyed for the study were experiencing the symptoms of early-onset tinnitus, a chronic and unceasing ringing in the ears that ordinarily doesn't appear in adults until after the age of 50. Although tinnitus can be temporary, like after a particularly loud concert, the type that is accompanied by sensitivity to loud noise, as reported by the kids in the study, is a sign of auditory nerve damage and therefore likely permanent hearing damage down the road. Larry Roberts, author of the study, advocates a campaign similar to that of early anti-smoking efforts to get the message out about this issue, said message being turn the music down, as the only cure for tinnitus is prevention. Number 2. Sad music can increase anxiety and neuroses. A 2015 study wanted to better understand if listening to music on your own can be a form of self-regulation, and in a complete bummer of a finding, it concluded that listening to sad music all the time can indeed have a negative effect on mental health. They reached this conclusion by exposing subjects to music of different kinds while undergoing MRI testing, examining which areas of the brain were activated by which cues, and following up with psychological testing. A different study by many of the same researchers focused specifically on lyrics, comparing the reactions of subjects to happy versus sad music, with and without lyrics. Their finding, put simply, was that happy music makes you happy, and sad music makes you sad, but happy music with happy lyrics makes you even happier, and sad music with sad lyrics makes you even sadder, perhaps even contributing to emotional problems. At this time, there apparently has been no comment from Adele as to whether she will stop making music for the public good. Number 3. Music disrupts studying and work performance. In the simultaneously amusing and terrifying sounding study out of the University of Wales, researchers examined the ability of subjects to recall information while being exposed to various sounds. 5 different conditions were employed, and those were silence, music favored by the subject, music the subject did not like, a voice repeating random numbers, and a voice repeating the number 3. At any rate, subjects were found to have performed the most poorly when listening to any music, whether they liked it or not. They performed best in silence and while listening to the repeated number 3. The authors speculated that the changing patterns of notes and phrases may negatively affect the ability to recall things in sequence, but curiously, they did not speculate on what the deal could have been with the whole repeated number 3 thing. Number 4. Listening while driving is dangerous. While anecdotal evidence to support this conclusion can be readily provided by anyone who has ever narrowly avoided a collision while air drumming to a certain Phil Collins song, there is some pretty convincing science to back it up. In 2004, a Canadian team looked at reaction time and test subjects while in noisy environments, slowly increasing the level of the noise. They found that at 95 decibels, reaction time decreased by 20%, an incredibly significant percentage when operating a 2-ton vehicle at high speeds. And in 2013, Ben Gurion University scientists put a similar test on the road, with an even more specific focus, and that was to make teen drivers were run through a course in a student vehicle while listening to their favorite music at comfortable levels. And it was found that a whopping 98% of these teens made an average of 3 mistakes, with fully 20% of them needing a steering or braking assist in order to avoid a collision. This bears out the findings of previous studies involving longer trips and different types of music, though these studies did suggest that soft, light rock might help a little. Number 5. Repetition, repetition, repetition. To say that pop music all sounds the same would be to repeat a refrain that has changed very little from generation to generation for decades. Unfortunately, however, this generation's pop appears to be mightily living up to the stereotype. A Spanish study gathered data on a gigantic database of pop songs between 1955 and 2010 and concluded that the amount of diversity and variation in chords, melodies, and instrumentation has steadily diminished over this period, or, as lead researcher Joan Serra succinctly put it, we found evidence of a progressive homogenization of the musical discourse. Basically, the tools in the musical toolbox have decreased to the point where everyone is using the same ones, and modern popular country can be seen as a particularly egregious example. The above video mashes up 6 recent popular country songs, but you wouldn't know it if you weren't paying attention. They could all practically be the same song. Running concurrent with this homogenization has been the so-called loudness wars. That is, the loudness of the overall mix of pop music has also increased steadily over the years, with the idea that songs will sound the same, no matter what type of speakers they're played on. Number 6. Modern pop is engineered to hook you. It is a not-so-well-kept secret that the vast majority of pop tunes over the last couple of decades have been written by a very, very small number of people. The more savvy among you easily associate the names Max Martin and Dr. Luke with an absurd number of hit songs from a ton of different artists, but you may not know that Max Martin helped create the Backstreet Boys, or that he and 3 or 4 of his associates, also middle-aged Scandinavian people, have practically written every hit song since then. This goes a long way toward explaining the repetitive formulaic form that pop has morphed into. But it's not just the repetitiveness of the songs themselves, it's also the repetitive nature of music programming that creates a problem. Repetition breeds familiarity, and according to a 2011 Portuguese study involving music exposure while undergoing MRI, taking advantage of this recognition is a kind of cheat to reaching the pleasure centers of the brain. The idea is that it's largely the formula itself that keeps listeners returning, which is especially troublesome given that. Number 8. Music can negatively affect your relationships. A 2006 study of almost 1,500 teens found, however, that teens who heavily listen to music featuring such subject matter are more likely to start having sex earlier than those who do not, by a margin of almost 2 to 1. The study's authors found that the pervasive message in such music that of studly, carefree men and subservient, sex-object women is reinforced, even if it isn't closely paid attention to, opining, we think that it really lowers kids' inhibitions and makes them less thoughtful in terms of their decisions. A later study of such imagery in videos, this one focusing on teen women and younger girls, confirmed the likelihood that frequent exposure may not only influence how girls see themselves, with greater effect the younger the girl is, but also could actually affect their ability to have healthy relationships. Study co-author Stacey Hust of the Edward R. Murrow College of Communication said, essentially when women perceive this heterosexual scripting that's in the media. This can affect, influence or inform how they think men and women should behave toward one another. So, we've determined that a steady regimen of pop music can help on your road to becoming a fat, sad, hearing-impaired, perpetually distracted dullard who doesn't know how to talk to people. Number 9. Songs about growing old might make you die sooner. In what must have been the single most depressing study of its kind to conduct, researchers from the Anglia Ruston University in Cambridge, England, analyzed 76 songs that invoked the topic of aging. It was found, of course, that the average sentiments expressed toward the subject are overwhelmingly negative, generally associating growing old with such heartwarming concepts as frailty, dependence, loneliness, and death. This prompted lead study author Jacinta Kelly to observe, what we're trying to get across is that this kind of bitterness or hostility is promoted or conveyed, and it's not a trivial thing to explore. You can absorb negativity, and it can have consequences for your health. This observation has been confirmed by similar studies showing that stereotypes about aging in culture can have the effect of fostering a negative attitude toward the process in the elderly, which can cause illness to be prolonged and overall health to be worse, even contributing toward a decline in social activity and reluctance to seek medical assistance. In other words, no matter where your specific tastes lie, modern music is a terrible, brain-numbing waste of time that is literally trying to kill you, and you should stop listening to it immediately. So that's it for today's video, hope you got some value out of it, thank you for watching, and have a nice day.